How's it going, everybody? This is Brian for Pop Culture Crossing, and today we are talking about Red Dawn. This 1984 movie tells the story of a World War III styled invasion of the United States by the Soviet Union and its allies. At the time, it probably would have seemed more like a near future type of film as the Soviet Union was still in existence, but today it's more of an alternate history movie, but still with a clear World War III focus. Nevertheless, the film has an impressive, unpredictable story, great acting, and strong technical effects. The opening text of the film actually goes by pretty quickly, but it explains how the global landscape has changed dramatically. Revolution is common, other invasions have occurred, and military buildup of other state blocs is rampant. NATO has also disbanded, which has essentially left the US on its own in isolation. When communist forces carry out a coordinated invasion of the United States, this sparks World War III, and a band of teenagers and early 20-something probably mount a guerrilla resistance against the invading forces. Two brothers, Jed and Matt, become the leaders of the force known as the Wolverines, as they quickly become the main opposition to the invaders. Surprisingly, the movie and its narrative packs an emotional punch. The invasion itself takes place right within the first few minutes of the film. Doing so really helps prevent any unnecessary delay, and it really allows for strong pacing right from the get-go. For timing, the pacing scheme is set up in a monthly progression. This does a fair job, but it could have been better handled. Some months, particularly October, seem really protracted and drawn out, and I was even wondering as the movie was going, did they do away with the monthly progression? Because I haven't seen an update here. And lo and behold, it pops up another month and it's like, wow, October was super long. This, really did kind of stick out to me a little bit. But the converse of this, of course, is that October is an eventful month for the Wolverines. And so it's appropriate in that regard. However, near the end of the movie, the pacing seemed to slow down a little bit again, and I understand that some months are different. Certain times are more eventful than others, so I respect that aspect of the film as it prevents predictability, but I just want to mention this. This is not a movie-breaking critique or anything like that, but it's worth mentioning that this pacing system could have used a bit of overhaul or polish for the final product. One continuity criticism that I had was when some members of the Wolverines were shown riding horses, and in the subsequent scenes, horses were nowhere to be seen, and it's like, so what happened to the horses? Did they drop them off at a location or something? I don't know what happened, but that stood out to me, and this is also minor, but still pretty noticeable. It should also be noted that the character growth and the emotional elements are quite remarkable and unexpected and are evidence of the stronger pacing that relate to the characters and tone. Red Dawn's tone is instantly ominous with the invasion happening right at the beginning. The movie focuses heavily on survival, vengeance, chivalry, and reaching the point where you kind of start wondering whether or not you're actually becoming the enemy, and it does this quite well, I would say. Other tonal elements include the dawn of World War III, which should be obvious here, and the bond that is forged during armed conflict. The town, the re-education camps, and the mention of free zone all expertly fuel the World War III motif and tension. I particularly liked how Jed and Matt said that they were influenced by mountain men, particularly Jedediah Smith and Jim Bridger. Shout out to the Revenant. Seeing how they integrate this knowledge of the frontiersmen into their current situation with this World War III invasion really adds an extra layer of flavor and was a nice overall undertone. Similarly, there's a plaque of the Teddy Roosevelt Rough Riders that's shown in the opening sequence, and the text in that really conveys the meta tone of the movie of always acting and try to never be passive or lukewarm, especially in times of good versus evil. The performances are good throughout the film. Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen form the brother duo of Jed and Matt, and they really just successfully capture this great brother dynamic. Their overall on-screen chemistry is great, and during significant parts of the story, it really just strengthens the film as a whole. And Jed's leadership and his transformation into this quasi-father figure of the Wolverines is well realized. The supporting cast of C. Thomas Howell, Leah Thompson, Darren Dalton, Jennifer Grey, Brad Savage, Ben Johnson, and Powers Booth all exhibit nuanced characters in their own respects. And when Jennifer Grey and Leah Thompson's Tony and Erica stand up to a pretty offhand chauvinistic remark by Matt, that instantly becomes clear that they are not damsels in distress or any type of stereotype there, or just they aren't dependent on men or the Wolverines. And this is really something that was appreciated. The Wolverines as a whole has a fairly nice group dynamic. It's particularly fun, or I guess I should say entertaining, to watch the Wolverines in action. Their first main ambush foray was really just this sloppy operation, and watching them go from that to becoming this capable, potent guerrilla opposition force is really well done and, like I said, entertaining. And this speaks well to the film's writing. The cinematography and production design in Red Dawn are terrific. The set pieces, military equipment, and pyrotechnics are all good and have realistic presentation. If there is any CGI in Red Dawn, I couldn't tell. I'm pretty sure some of the helicopters may have been models, but they still looked really good. Likewise, the Wolverine aesthetic as a whole is excellent. As a viewer, it was refreshing that the Wolverines not only acted like gorillas, but they looked the part. And the design of the town itself, I also want to mention, is well done. And after the invasion, post-invasion, if you will, it really successfully conveys this sense of occupation and kind of culture shock that happens when Jed and Matt and some of the people go into the town and just see how much it has in fact changed. John Milius's direction of Red Dawn is sound. He does a great job communicating the dramatic change the invasion brings, as well as the impressive growth of the characters, which is also a testament to the film's strong writing. Milius's management of the cinematography, production design, and ability to get such strong performances from his cast are features for which he should be commended. I do wish the progression system would have been a little bit more polished, but the maturation of the Wolverines themselves is quite excellent. Witnessing the members of the Wolverines wrestle with their actions and decisions really make the movie seem more realistic and effectual. And despite my minor critique here of the pacing, I do just want to emphasize that the storytelling itself as a whole is not lazy. In the end, Red Dawn is a great World War III movie. Although the main characters are teenagers or early 20s, it's hard to tell with Jed. The film has mature, sophisticated themes, and I don't mean mature in terms of sexual content or drugs or alcohol or tobacco. I mean that in terms of more serious in tone, and you may initially kind of write this movie off as being like, oh, a bunch of teenagers are saving the country from the Russians. Well, it's actually more nuanced than that. The characters in the movie aren't just like, hey, let's grab AKs and shoot the Russians. That's not how it goes down at all, thankfully. That's appreciated. But the guerrilla war that is employed by the Wolverines is entertaining to watch and is complemented itself by the great production design. So if you're looking for a good alternate history movie or World War III film, or just a movie that centers on a story of the U.S. being invaded by a foreign force, then you definitely do not want to miss Red Dawn. And if you haven't seen it, I think you just may be pleasantly surprised by its content. So that's my review of Red Dawn. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below and on our social media channels. In the meantime, why don't you let me know what your favorite near future and World War III films are? I'm curious to hear what you have to say there. As always, our full detailed written review is available at popculturecrossing.com. And if you could remember to subscribe and add us on iTunes and Google Play Music, as well as across our social feeds, we definitely appreciate the help there. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.